Okay, so today is going to be the final part, hopefully, of the Copic Harbor drawing that I'm working on. I'm going to be adding in these final details which are needed here and just a general tidy up. I've taken the image out for a walk and got some market feedback, which I think's a pretty important thing to do, so that I know exactly what people think of it. And I've had a little bit of feedback on certain parts, like the bridge, where it's not 100% clear what it is, but when people were shown the photos, the response was, oh yeah, that makes sense. Bear with me, I've just hit the wrong button. I don't know why this happens. Right, then we do that. So bear with me. Apologies about that. Sadly, for some reason, even though you turn the volume off, the volume still works. Right. Nothing's going right so far. Okay, so the pen that we're going to be using is the... That's it. I'm throwing my phone out the room. Shoot. Right. The pen that we're using today... Do you think I should start again? No, we're going to go with this. It's the Micron 005, which is what I've been using for all of the details so far. And you can get these in packs, like so. And in the packs you get the 005, the 01, the 02, 03, 05 and 08. So you get a really nice width of lines and uses, so you can do very fine detail through to very heavy detail, and you can double up, so that works. And with these pens you get the number on the top and you also get the number on the side. The only thing that I found was mine over time, all of the information wore off. So for my much older pens, I have to judge it by the actual physical nib size. This was, I think this was either an 05 or an 08, but because I've used it a lot, it's worn down, so once I get to that stage, I always get a new packet in, and then I can keep on using my old ones, but I have new ones on the side if I need them. So once again, we're going to be using the photo reference. So we're using this as a reference. As you can see, it's getting a bit battered, but I'll be mostly working off of the screen due to the colour, and also so that I can actually zoom in and get some really good detail in. Right. So without further ado, hopefully off we go. The first bit I'm going to do is going to find where a life jacket is, because there's actually one here. Now I've got to add this when I originally did this drawing, but as you probably saw on the previous drawing, because there's so much diversity in these pens, I can bleach out with the 0 and come back in and put some of that detail in there. And because of the nibs are brush nibs on Copics, it just works brilliantly. I mean, look at how I fixed this area down in the corner by the railings. If it had been other markers, I don't think I would have been able to quite get that effect, though the Pro markers and the Strat markers, those are very good, so I may have been able to get it with those. So let's get a bit of light yellow on there, and a little, actually I want a lighter orange. I don't want to go too dark on this bit. So what will happen to this image at the end of the day Because it's in Copics, it's not going to be light fast, so at the end of the day it is going to fade. Now I don't know how fast it's going to fade, but it's going to be put into an archival wallet, and I will order, go to my printer chap, and I'm going to order a limited run of 50 prints, and then I will keep one of those for myself, and that will be my kind of reference. And I go for a limited edition Glacis prints, so a very, very fine standard. So there'll be kind of 49 prints for sale. And if I do decide to do a second run, it will depend on if the image actually physically sells. If it doesn't sell, there won't be. If it does sell, woohoo! Just finding a bright red. Oddly enough, reds aren't a colour that I've got a lot of. It's, I suppose, because I don't do a lot of stamp colouring and a lot of florals and just general stampy images. I don't have many reds. Only recently did I go and get some pinks, but only ones that would coincide with pictures that I was actually going to use those kind of colours on, so flamingos and things like that. Now I need a green. Terrified this pot's going to fall off the table in a minute. And that lovely chisel nib. It's just so handy. There we go. Right. So that's the Lifebuoy. And next to that, there's actually a little green box. I can add a little bit of detail onto that. I'll try and hold the pen slightly further at the barrel so you can see more of what I'm doing without losing control. It's always a good idea to get practice at holding your pen at different angles and different areas. Don't just stick to holding it in the same area. Change your grasp, get used to it. Even hold your pen like that if you can work, which you can. You're a little bit less controlled, but you can still draw an image holding the pen at the end. So definitely try it. And the more you practice, the stronger your images and abilities will get. Also, definitely practice drawing with the other hand. It's it can actually be a bit of a lifesaver. So now I'm going to come over to the bridge over here and see if I can sort that out. So we're going to be moving around the image, allowing the ink to dry a bit more, come back, and kind of doing that style. Right, now this bridge is actually a darker green than I originally put down. So let's try a G05. And once again, I'm going to be using the chisel edge. And a very fine line there. I'm just going to put in a couple of the rails. Then the drain pipe on here was green. And so is part of the roof. A little bit of detail down here. And that green also shows up in further off in the drawing, so that's making sure that the image is consistent. Just a quick check of the railings. Yeah, and the railings down here have also got a bit of green to them. Right. Now, Coming back to the Posco, I'm just going to add in the extra part of the roof. And then, let's see, it's taken time to study that bit. And I need a dark grey, so let's see. Let's go for the T6 and chisel end. I'm just going to add in a little bit of shadow under there and over there. Now, oddly enough, this piece actually has some kind of markings to the building, so I'm just going to add them in with the T6 and then go down to the T5. Actually, no. Let's go T3, our favourite, and just go over those to blend them out so they're not quite so strong. And we're going to do dots of the T3 just over the Posco, and that's because the part of the roof, it's there, but it's not really bright because it's further in the distance, so it's just muting down those tones. Now I'm going to take a G17 and I'm now going to go over those railings with the G17. And this is very, very gently. This is just to darken it up. Teeny weeny bit. Now, you'll note that I've done the reflection here in blues, so I need to change that slightly, but I need to be really careful how I change it. So I'm going to use a BG93, which is a blue-green, and this is going to be a little bit more tricky than I'd hoped. In fact, I've got the angle wrong. Sorry about that. It's my glasses catching it. Right, so there is actually, it comes more over this side than over there. So, using the zero blender, we're going to just take a lot of that bit out. I still need it there to a certain amount, but I just want it muted right down. I've actually just refilled this, so it's going to have a lot more punch. Then I'm going to use the T3 and come in and just put in that shadow again, just over the green. So keeping it quite neutral colours. Blender, so I'm going to have to neutralise this blue quite a lot. Soften that right down. Because in fact, beyond this piece, the kind of water goes green, like a moss green. So once that's dried, hopefully I can come through with G82 and just put in some very, very fine lines on there. So I'm just going to bring in the BG, once again, just tap in a couple of lines. So this is very much now a case of pushing a colour back, pulling another one forward, pushing that back, then pulling it another one forward. So it's a way of achieving quite a smooth blend. It's kind of what I was doing up in the sky. Okay, that's bouncing slightly, so I know I've got to let that now dry. But I've marked in my areas that I need to concentrate on, so that's good, I hope. Right, so while that's drying, I'm going to come over this side and just try and finish up these buildings. Like I say, bouncing around a little bit just so the areas are drying. Right. So, that building's okay. Just checking my details. Right, I'm missing a little bit of detail up here. So we're going to put that in. I'm probably going to simplify quite a lot of the detail in these places, in truth. And I'm going to bring in a E25 to darken that up. In fact, I can bring the E25 down onto this roof down here. And down on this piece here. So on to the next building. Right, so I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit. Hopefully. And hopefully we'll get a focus. Wrong button. There we go. Right, so hopefully that's a bit more focused. So we're going to be working on this building. Good news on the computer front. I will be, hopefully fingers crossed, getting a new computer. The one that I bought that is not very good, well, hasn't worked since I bought it, that's going in for repair. It looks like the BIOS has gone, so the guys are going to have a really good look, see if they can fix it. If they can, that's fine, and then I'll be selling that off as fast as possible. And then I can go and buy this new model. So, fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll actually have 2 webcams. So I can point one in the direction of the garden, you guys can watch the birdies while I'm doing drawing. So some of the marks that I'm making, you hopefully can see, are literally just teeny weeny little lines. In fact, this place has got a dark blue roof. So we're just going to add in a little colour. And then I'm going to mute that down with the E15. And bring in the massive pile of Copics next to me. Bring in T3 just to put this wall into shadow. So there's a slight gap. And just busk that bit. Now some of these poles and such do actually have colour to them, but that's going to be added much closer to the end. No, that's that one. So on to the next. Found there's quite a big roof there. So once again I'm just going to put in a little bit of blue to indicate some of the different roof colours. And then come back in with a brown like E15 to neutralise that. So it's kind of just making a grey, but it does have a more natural tint to it because it's not quite as powerful as if you were just using grey alone. And then I need to add, let's see, I'm going to go T3 and I want to add it along this bit. Not too much so, but quite a few of these buildings are in almost complete shadow. So it's probably about up to there. That goes up, that goes over. And there's a dome around here. Half of that is in a bluish colour. A little bit grey. Okay, so I need to just zoom out from my photo. I've got it actually literally at pinpoint And let's see, I need to go slightly behind. So here, and then I'm going to bring it in a green. I think I'm going to go for the GO5. So this is where kind of paying real attention into the drawing is going to come in. Because there's another boat back here. I use the G17 just to put in a couple of dark lines. And there's a lot of what I can only describe as electric blue. So you have these little kind of lines of electric blue here and there. So that boat is there, then there's like a little band of blue there. In front of here. If I remember correctly, these little bands of blue are like sail covers. So that's like just blue tarpaulin. And oddly enough, this boat here has got kind of band of blue there. And the one behind it is blue, but a different blue. So we're going to use B32 to block in that bit. Then there's another green one. Just tucked in behind that. Just need a little bit of the darkness. And I'm just going to actually draw in a bit of the detail there, because you know it's not got anything to match, so this is where I'm blocking in with colour and then once again coming through and putting in the detail. And I hope by showing you that you can block in your colour first and then do the detail, that's going to inspire you guys out there to try a completely different way of doing things. So instead of drawing an image in colour in it, have a go. See what happens when you actually put the colour down first and then ink, or even just put the colour down and don't ink. So if you can, do your drawing in a really, really light pencil like a H5 or something like that. If you're really brave, go for a H9 and then literally just colour. No outline, nothing. It looks, I mean, it's a very, very, very beautiful way of doing a drawing because it softens the whole image. You don't get, because you haven't got the harsh lines all around it, it creates quite an amazing effect. So you can see I'm just adding in a little bit more detail. There's another life ring, just that. So we need to add in some orange. Let's go to YR23. Now I did see some red around here. So that's the end of that boat. And there's that bit, and then there's a band of pinky red up here. So there's quite a big band there. So you can see probably by adding in the other colours, it starts to give much more feeling of fullness to the image. It's not just white boats. There's more texture, there's more detail. In fact, there's a blue top just there. And I'm not using a magnifying glass or anything like that. I'm literally just zoomed in on the computer screen and then drawing away what I can see. I can actually put across some of the blues and the purples into the shadows now. And the reason I took a couple of days away from this drawing was quite literally that I was losing my confidence with what I was doing. So I stepped back, took it for a walk, asked other people their opinions, got that feedback, and then came back and I looked at it. I laid it on the floor, looked at it from the kind of looked down on it. I put it up high and looked at it from below, and I did this several times. I literally took the picture and plonked it everywhere in the house in different lighting, and that's helped me get a much better idea of what I want to get out of this drawing. Back to the Micron marker, just put in some of that detail. So let's see. Right, so I'm just going to work out my detail lines. Add a little bit of sketch detail onto the jet skis. Let's put in a few lines of this building. Then I need to add a tiny bit of green back there. because there are a couple of large bushes. But because it's far away, I just literally want to put little dots in. Nothing too major. And just tone that down with the G17. Then just bring the camera up slightly. Right. There are some buildings right back there, but those are going to be pretty much left in the dark. So back here there's a kind of conical post thing. So I just need to put that in, and I'm going to use the T6 to put in the darkest shadow. Then the T5 just to pull that across a little bit. And then I'm going to use B0000 to just blend that out. I'm going to put a little bit of that in the white as well. Then I need an E number. Better pack that one away. But while I was playing with Spectrum Noir pens, I put a lot of the Copics on the floor, so there we go. Right. So I'm going to go for E30. Just add in a couple of lines over here which are needed. Also on the buildings. Just need to start blending out some of those colours and cleaning them up. And then E00, again bringing that in. And now E0000, E lots of zeros, and this time I'm going to blend it slightly over the buildings to help create the light that's actually coming up around the buildings. Seem to have actually picked up some dirt there. Right, blender pen time. I must have put too much ink down in one area. It's okay because it's fixable. Then I need a kind of darkish blue, but not dark blue. So I suppose BG78 might do the job. Right. Right. So now what I'm going to do is grab I'm looking for a grey to start doing a wash over a lot of it. I'm thinking N2 because that's neutral, but then I'm thinking toner 2. I could really do just thinking cold colours. I don't want it to be too cold. I'm thinking toner. The reason I'm thinking toner blue, toner grey is because if I put cold grey on, it may make the image too cold, and that won't help at all. So I need to make that image much more neutral. I'm hoping this will do it. So this wash is going to be going around the boat into the darkest areas, and then we'll be putting a kind of blue over that. And I'm going to use the B0000. And this is so that there's still some colour in the boat. I'm going to put the T2 just across most of the boats. I think this one over in this corner is probably about the only exception, because this has got quite a lot of yellow in it. So I'm going to use a Y000. This one, that's literally due to the sun hitting it fully. And then a lot of the boats back here have got the same effect. You do get a little bit of the yellow travelling through, but not that much. And then I'm going to use a I think E0 is, actually no, let's go E40. E40 is a pretty cool colour. I'm going to just try and change the colour settings. There we go. Whoop, slightly wrong way. That's a little bit closer to what it actually looks like. Though I don't think the camera's picking up a lot of the detail. So yeah, so I'm adding the E40, which is called brick white. I'm just pushing that around so that there's some colour in each area. Right, and then we're going to go back to the Y00 and just brighten up a bit more. So I've literally got about 100 Copics chucked on the desk right now. So I think I'm going to have to put them all away, and that takes forever. Right, so double checking my photo, I can now see much more on where these colours actually are. It's more of the boats behind that are getting hit. And now I'm actually going to get some YO2 and really push some of these colours. Just because I want this area behind to really have that brightness that it actually physically has. And putting a bit of that across into the highlights. Okay, and now I'm going to push that back with the E00. And this is just to drop it down a little bit. Not totally, but enough just so that it doesn't stick out quite so much. So now I'm going to push a lot more of the tonal values, and this way a lot of the buildings hopefully are going to come more forward, and it should give it more depth to the image. So this is the scary bit. Right, so I'm now going to go E59 and see, I'm thinking E57. Both very strong colours. But let's see, hopefully this should work. You'll see in some places I'm literally just putting spots of colour down. So then I'm going to come in with the E57 and just add a tiny bit of that to soften off the edges. To also fill in any gaps that need filling in. I'm going to be pretty much holding both pens in my hand now. Just while I edge in bits of detail. I'm not going to put so much markers around these bits because these are almost like hidden detail. So hopefully you can see around this area where now these little group is standing much more forward. And because I've got quite light shadows in there, the effect shouldn't be too strong. Just going to quickly go back and look at the reference photo. Right, so I can push a couple of the shadows, only a tiny bit though. So I'm going to go with the T5. Sorry, shove the markers over there. Right, T5 onto this bit. And just here. And then there and here. A T5 probably looks a bit strong. Right. In fact, there's a tiny bit, there's like archways there that need to come in. Right, then I bring in the T2 and just soften that. And just quickly add in little bits of detail onto the bridge. But we're going to add in the red railing. So to do that, I'm literally just putting red dots along here. This piece of the building is in shadow, so I'm going to add T2 to that. And some of these windows are slightly shadowed, so a little bit of T2 to each window. Now this building, I need to do a little bit of a colour match, so I'm probably going to use E70. Yeah, I think we're going to go with E70, which is quite a dark colour, but I'm hoping go around there, over there, under there. Okay, actually that's not as dark as I thought it was going to be. So I'm actually going to bring E70 onto the main side of the building. I'm going to put a little bit up here because there's a bit of reflected colour there. And I'm going to bring the T5 in and put the shadow, start working on a little bit of shadow just here and there. And then bring in the T3, which is around here somewhere. Yep, T3. I'm going to blend all that in. And then put a little bit of T3 into the main colour. So this bit around is actually quite dark. I keep on getting confused here. Where I'm getting confused is where one building starts and the other ends. I love being able to just zoom in. Right, is that a definitive wall? Yes, right. Okay. So at this point there's actually a wall that ends that building. Just quickly put some fixes in there, like that. Now if that ends there, the building behind is greyer, so we can actually bring that shadow that I was trying to work out earlier in. Weymouth does have a real mishmash of different architecture. And then adding a tiny bit of E15 just to neutralise that down. then I need to put that roof line in, which is about there. Right. Now I remember what was going on here is because one of the buildings was having some restoration work done to it. I think that's where I've messed up slightly. But it's fixable. Right. So a lot of the marks that I've made there are literally just pinpoint marks. And that's because I don't want too much detail. And I'm going to let the colour and the light and the shade tell the story there. So there's one building that I do need to pay attention to, and that's the little one over here. And then, by the looks of it, I definitely need to start marking out these the kind of concrete blocks that are underneath the walkways. I need to do something with those. Finish off those buildings, do a colour wash across, and I think we're nearly there. And blimey, if I seriously been doing this for an hour, kind of don't feel like it. Right, again, we could be here for a while. Ta-da! I'm kind of getting used to manipulating this camera arm a weeny bit. Right, this is why I love 0.05 pens. Copic do some amazing version of fine liners, so I definitely recommend those. If you get a chance to buy the fine liners, do. But whenever you're using these fine nibs, you do need to keep your hand quite light, so once again it's that nice flowy motion. So I've just got to follow the photo. Right. Right. Some of the buildings I'm not so fussed if I don't get 100% right, because at the end of the day sometimes you can't do it. But some of the buildings I know I've got to get right because they are quite big landmarks. So in this case I do need to get a couple of little bits right. I think I have missed out a couple of buildings on this bit. Right, so I'm going to bring in the E57 and just pick up a couple of little bits. then I'm going to use that B97 just to neutralise a couple of those parts. Something that I thought I saw in this drawing and now I'm suddenly having self-doubts. No, it is there. Right, that's cool. I thought I messed something up, but in fact I've got it right. Makes a change. There's a building behind there. Now in my original sketch I did get a lot more detail in here, even though it's a much smaller drawing. So I just need to use a little bit of that blue just here, and then I'm going to put the E57 over that. I'll get quite a nice neutral grey. And then adding a little bit of E15 here and there. Underneath the bridge there is, in fact between here and there's actually a line of boats, but I'm not going to be able to get that detail in, so I'm just going to do a lot of random little squiggles just under there, and hopefully people's imaginations can fill in that bit. So I'm going to pop over to the building over here and just put in a couple of lines just to indicate detail. Realised I've forgotten the lights that are on top of the bridge. On both ends there's the original lantern kind of things. So when the bridge, because the bridge actually goes up, there's a couple of flashing lights further around the corner and little bits to tell people to stop before getting to the bridge, and then the bridge goes up, the boats go under, and the bridge goes down. Sometimes you get to see a rather silly pigeon or two who, when the bridge is lifted, they're going to actually sit directly in the middle. So as the bridge is closing, you're just dreading to see a pigeon sandwich. But luckily, so far there has not been a pigeon sandwich. And some people do chance it. You do get quite a lot of people, even though the alarms are going and the person stood out there yelling at everybody to jolly well hop their little feet along. Sometimes you do get a person who isn't going to be fast enough, so like a person with disabilities or one of the little old ladies, or even sometimes kids just won't move. And there's actually safe zones just before the barriers, so if you do get caught, you can tuck into one of the safe zones and you'll have the bridge literally lift within half a foot of you, but you won't be chucked, well, kind of thrown off. Okay. This is my biggest problem, is I actually get too engrossed in the detail. But when you want to produce a good image, you kind of do that. Right, so see if we can fix this shadow that's going across. So in this case, I'm now going to bring in the T5 because I've got my green underlay. I'll find it. T3, T6. Let's try it with the T6. Right, gonna need chisel end. And it's going to be a broken line because of the water movement. Okay, and then gonna go in with the T2. And then gonna pull that back with the blender. Then gonna put over a little bit of B000. I think that's gonna be it, so we can just gently hatch in a couple of lines. And then just put in a bit more of the shadow detail that's actually over here. Right, then using the T6, going to start to add in a bit of the darker shadow. Because we want this image to start to kind of come off the page now. This area is actually a lot of shadow in it. So we're going to lift the camera, come back up, and across. So this is going to be mostly T6, and then probably a little bit of T5. Soften it. Right. Okay, so we're now at the stage where I'm looking for a metallic pen. And the good news was I actually found nearly all my metallics. Right, do I have the one I want? Yes. Right, so I need some test paper. And the reason I'm doing this on test paper is in case of leaks. So I'm just going to prime it, pick up a little bit, double check my drawing, and then hopefully put in a couple of tiny silver highlights. Now this won't come probably out on the print, but on the other hand it may. It's a bit conked up. Something coming out there, so. Just putting a couple of tiny silver highlights here and there. Right. Now, dim light. Now I'm just going to go around them with the black. I actually think that's probably going to be it. So I'm happy with the amount of detail that's on there, and I'm happy with the results that I've got from the markers. So if I want to lighten up any areas, I can now just put a white pen across and then push that back by putting another marker over it. But overall, yep, I'm happy with that. I feel quite comfortable. Put highlights on the little rings. Right, so I think, like I say, we're going to call that done and give that an overnight dry. So let's see if I can get the proper lighting. I mean, there's probably areas that I might go back and tweak. Here's something I always do if I see something that I'm not too sure on. Then I will always go back, and that's why I leave it. I quite often leave these images for at least a day, and that way I can come back to it and say, that needs changing, or this needs changing, and I can look at it with fresh eyes and make those changes much more accurately. So here I'm just putting in a couple of bits that I just realised I haven't got. See, that's what I mean. I stepped back, I've reassessed, and suddenly straight away I've just spotted little bits that I think, oh, that needs redoing. so that bit can be redone. So you could say this at this point it's really now what I would call playtime. So it's just cleaning up the most minute bits of detail just to ensure that things make sense as they should. And my shadows are dark where they need to be dark. My highlights are light where they need to be light. And you'll find that the more you do this sort of drawings, or try and do a drawing that's out of your comfort zone, at first it's going to feel really weird and you're not going to be comfortable, and you're going to be probably very hypercritical of anything that you do. But once you start to get used to it, you'll find that you thoroughly enjoy it a lot more, and that you're more willing to have a go. And you may even find that you're more willing to take really big risks. And it's those risks and gambles that can pay off and give you some absolutely stunning artwork. But you've got to be happy to do it. At the end of the day, if you're not happy with what you're creating, have a break. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to produce the best of your work. But at the same time, if you're fed up, sometimes you can produce some amazing work. If you do a course or anything like that for higher education, you'll find one of the main exercises that they'll be very, very insistent that you do is one where you actually draw through your emotions. So when you're tired, when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're feeling not at all well, things like that, they'll actually want you to draw in different states so that you can reflect the emotion in the artwork properly. And in fact, weird as it sounds, it does make a difference. Blending out those shadows. Right, time to stop filling, step back and just see what it looks like tomorrow. Because the alcohol will dry probably in the next couple of hours, but I'll come back tomorrow with a fresh set of eyes, and hopefully that's, like I say, that's it. Now, as you saw, that was using quite a fair bit of ink. A lot of Copics went into that. And yes, that's taken 2, 4, 6, 8. It's got to have taken about 8 hours in total, which is why I've broken it down into sections. I haven't gone for it all in one go. If you do try and do a drawing like this all in one go, you're going to become tired and your emotion is actually going to overtake, so you're going to become very, very frustrated. If you make mistakes, it's going to make you angry. Your pressure then on your hand grip on your pens and pencils will change and become more powerful, and that way you can make a line mistake and you can ruin your drawing so easily. Now, I appreciate in the industry you've got deadlines to meet and things like that. Even for if you're doing coursework, you've got deadlines to meet, but you need to pace yourself and be sensible. There's no point in burning out and absolutely ruining an image. You're going to learn all the way, and that's pretty important, but you need to do things sensibly. And the thing is, because if you rush around and you don't enjoy something, you could end up missing out on something amazing. I met a lot of people go back to creative stuff in their later years because the pressure at college, school and whatnot is too aggressive, or it's pushing you in a direction that you don't feel comfortable in, to the point where you're like, not doing this, not playing this game anymore, toodle pip. So yeah, just be aware that you're going to go through emotional states like that, and sometimes you'll actually give yourself a mental block where you don't want to do anything at all. You'll just be like, meh. And in that state, it's almost like an artist block stroke depression. And it's the only way to fix that is to find another niche in creativity that you can fill. So if you do a lot of graphite pencil work, try colour pencil. If you do colour pencil, try pastel. If you draw and paint continuously, you know what? Try sewing. Try Tudor button making. I mean, that's kind of just weaving, getting a loop thing and then just putting the thread around it and then doing a cog in the middle. Absolutely stunning results. So you've got lots and lots of hobbies out there. Try lino printing, where you etch into lino and then put all the ink over it and do printing that way. You mustn't ever let kind of the fed up, depressive state ruin your ability to be a good artist. But also don't rely on your artwork to do everything. Don't feel that you're going to come along, get a YouTube channel or whatnot, and suddenly be famous in 5 minutes. Okay, some people it does happen to, yeah. But here's a big but. In 40, 50, 60 years time, you may lose the use of your hands through arthritis, rheumatism, things like that, other debilitating problems. You may have sight issues, stigmatisms, and eye problems, cataracts. Laser surgery can't fix everything, people. And then, what are you going to do? Will you be able to create? If not, and you've dedicated your whole life to your work and you're self-employed, you're going to be relying, if you're in the UK, on the state pension. And I'll be honest, from what I'm seeing of it, it's a pittance. So if you're going to do art and stuff, I would certainly say please go and get at least a part-time job, even something that's just doing 16 hours a week. It'll help you financially. And also it'll help you mentally, because it's a break from the desk, it's a break from the computer and all of those things. And also it'll help with your social lives. I don't have a social life, but going to work does help, because I'm meeting different people and I'm actually finding inspiration at work. So some of the customers, some of the antics I can draw out and enjoy things that way. And also, I can get a pension to top off the pension, and I get pay, just about. And with pay comes great art. I can go and shop till I drop. So yeah, if you're planning to do art as like a career hobby thing, please just think very carefully about the future. And that's why I think a lot of parents will say, no, go and get a proper job and such. It's not that they're saying that you're not got any talent, it's that they're saying they want to know that when they're not there, you're going to be okay. Financially, you're going to have a home, you're going to have finances, but you're going to be enjoying what you're doing. So you need to make sure you got a good balance. And I'm only saying this today because there's been a couple of videos going out saying, oh, here's a way to make it as an artist, you need to do this and this. I quit university to come and be an artist kind of videos, and I'm watching them and I'm thinking, that's okay, but what happens in years to come, none of us really knows what is around the corner. So you need to safeguard for your futures. I mean, art's there to be enjoyed, but we don't want to see lots and lots of people without homes, without food, without a pension, without anything, just because they didn't get smart enough to think, actually I'll do art as part of my life, but I also have a part-time job and I'll get finances and I'll be sensible. So like I said, please just be careful. If in doubt, and you're not sure, speak to your parents. If your parents, if you feel you're too old to speak to your parents, there are advisors online, and also speak to a financial advisor. Work out your costs. How much do you think you can make as an artist? And then, well, let's say, for imagination's sake, say I knew that I could make, God, how much would I make? On average, I would have to make, through artwork, over £1,200 a month. Now that sounds a lot, but with the average house price and rent costs, electric, council tax, water, maintenance, food, electricity, gas, petrol if you've got a car, expenses of using a bus, clothing, and all of those things, yeah, that's gonna take at least 3/4 of that pay. If you manage to make 1,200, you're gonna lose about 3/4 of that to all of those living expenses. And that's why I would strongly suggest, if you're gonna try and be a full-time artist, speak to somebody on the finance sector. Banks, I think, offer a service where you can go and speak to one of their financiers, because you need to really, really be sure of what you're doing. Because as you get older, you will find it harder to get jobs, because your skill set will become more restricted. If there's any open university courses that you see that you can do, try and do a few of those every year if you're going to go down the art path, and that way you're keeping your skill set up to date. So if you do need to go and get a job, you can walk off and you've got a better chance. I mean, I'd love to go full-time as an artist, don't get me wrong. Ooh, that'd be brilliant. But I know I need a pension. I know I need money to buy a roof. And if I have a bad month and nobody buys any artwork, nobody supports me over on any of my other pages, and I have no finance coming in, it's going to be very, very nasty and very difficult. And I care about the next generation. I care about this generation. So I'm soppy like that. I care. I share because I care. And there are so many fantastic artists out there whose work is hanging by threads because of these things. Right, I'm going to stop fiddling. Step away, step away, step away. It's like gravity, drawings pull you in. In this case, I'll be swimming for a while. Right, so I hope this has inspired you guys to go and pick up a pen, a pencil, and maybe some paper. Even a brown paper bag makes a good tool. And have a go at drawing, because you will find it's great fun. Oh, and let's do a reveal, because I don't think I'm going to be doing much more ink-wise to the edges. So, here we go. Let's see, now I'm pulling it away from the paper. Ooh, it's a bit tacky. There we go, nearly there. Okay, so I'm going to pull my hand and doing this really ultra slowly. I've got a little bit of paper damage. There's one side. Woo! And this is very, 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 waxing. This framer's tape was one I actually bought from a framer, and it's a bit, I've detacked it. So what I've done is I put it onto my board, I've rubbed it and stripped it off to take away some of that tackiness, but it's still a bit too tacky, so I do have damage to the paper fibre along here. Now I'm not worried about this edge not being perfectly straight, and the reason for that is that when I go to my printer chap, he also has editing software, and he will hopefully be able to fix any problems. Now this bit's going to be interesting. Gosh, means I don't want to put my it's hard to know where to put your hand. Right, here we go, because this was a darker colour. Oh, and you can see a lot of paper on. Actually, I don't know if you can see. There you go. I'm getting a lot of paper coming off here, so I definitely didn't take as much of the tackiness as I could. Right. So, right now, when framers tape goes like that, it's better to go from the other end and come in, because you don't want to scratch any more of that. Such a pain, that's stripped off a bit of the paper. Well, part of the learning process. So just gently lifting that bit. It's going to go again, so I'm going to start this end. Come on, behave. You'll notice some paper underneath. That was an absorption mat. Well, bit of paper just to take some of the bleed. Actually, if you hang around, we'll see what the other side looks like. I'm going to have to scratch this off. Come on, framers tape, you don't normally do it this badly. Oh yeah, I didn't, you can see, I didn't take enough of the glue off. You can get different tacks of framing tape, and I thought this was a low tack. I think I was wrong. Okay. I'm going to come this way. Right. Now for this, I'd normally get a knife, but I don't have any knives to hand, and I don't want to put any water near this. And I tell you what I would normally try also and use is, if this was white paper, I might put a blender pen over this to soak it, just to soften it. Right, come on. Ooh. Come on. There we go. Right. So there is a lot of damage. There's no doubt about that, which is a shame, but I've learnt my lesson there. Okay. Move the Copics out of the way. Tell you what though, having a white border don't have to make a difference. And for my printer chappy, it's going to help him a lot, because when he puts this onto the scanner, he's going to be able to highlight this clean edge in the Photoshop programs that he uses and produce a nice image, whereas if I bled this, oh god, that's a lot of white coming off that. If I put this out to the edge, he's got to then build a border around it, and sometimes that can give them issues. And wherever possible, with my printer chap, I make life as easy as possible. God, my framing tape is not liking me today. I think I'm going a bit too fast. Come on. Oh dearie, 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 dearie. Right. Right. Just very gently hook that up. That's why long nails sometimes have ease. Right, there we go. So next time I do this, I need to make sure my paper is a lot less tacky. Certainly on the bed. Right, so paper underneath. Well, all things considering, I've only got 2 spots. Moment of truth. Right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, how about that? I've handled it really well. This area is where I was pushing through that blue, and I did a bit of editing up here, and the sky I had to add a lot into. But overall, and actually, so I have to do this, by using the framer's tape, the paper has not buckled. Now I can move it. I'm going to keep it just on that white paper. Not the best at framer's tape. I should have made a much smaller border, but I'm happy with the size, and once this is scanned into Photoshop and we can play around, there'll be a frame in a frame thingy, you know, the cardboard mount board insert frames there, and then when it goes for sale, the new owner will buy the wooden frame on the metal frame to go around. That's if anybody actually wants to physically buy this image. And when I get round to my guy, I will ask his opinion, because he's really good at advising me on if an image is any good. And also, having that next pair of eyes, he'll be able to look through it and say, I like this but I don't like that, you might want to change that, or you've forgotten to put a piece of colour there, did you know you haven't put the marks here and that's the wrong shape for that. So it's really good, handy, free constructive criticism. I mean, he's not done me wrong yet, so there we go. So let's see one last time if we can get the autofocus to focus, because I'd like you guys to see this image properly. There, come on, good focus. We nearly had it. Did you see that? It nearly had it. So there we go. This is a image drawn with Copic markers of part of Weymouth Harbour at 7 in the morning on a November day. So thank you very much to everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and all the best, happy drawing, and keep being creative. Take care.